Hello everybody, Disciple here with Hearthstone Curios. Now I know that Hearthstone can be a pretty expensive game if you plan on having all the cards, and unless you play Arena 24/7, you're probably gonna have to shell out some cash. But today, before we get into the video, I'd like to share with you guys an offer from AppBounty, who are sponsoring this video, for a way that you guys can earn your own Hearthstone packs without spending any money yourself. Now it's super easy to get started. All you have to do is go to appbounty.net and enter the invite code HC, which will not only allow you to download the application for iOS or Android, but also give you some free bonus points just for signing up. From there, you can go ahead and complete simple tasks that allow you to earn points that you can then use in exchange for things like Steam gift cards and credit to the PlayStation Store, Xbox, iTunes, or best of all, Amazon, since you can use that Amazon credit to buy Hearthstone packs and create whatever top tier deck you want with all the legendaries in it. It's super easy to get started earning free Hearthstone packs now. Just go to appbounty.net or follow the link below. Don't forget that code HC for Hearthstone Curios, and that's all you need. Anyway, let's get started. Now, one of the most fun things about Hearthstone is getting to see all the new and exciting cards, and it's probably the best part of any new expansion. And since Blizzard can't release a new expansion every single day, some people turn to looking at and evaluating fan-made cards, which is what we're gonna do. Although most of these don't make it into the game and maybe aren't designed all that well, some are really cool to look at, and a few fan-made cards actually pretty much predicted real cards that ended up getting made, like Fandral Staghelm. That's why today we thought we'd explore something that doesn't exist yet in Hearthstone, but that's coming in Journey to Un'Goro Crater, and that's legendary spells. Now, legendary spells are finally getting introduced into the game in the form of quests, but we're going to take a look at what legendary spells could look like if they weren't quests. So first up, let's take a look at Mount Crushmore by Ben SSB Comp. This card is pretty sweet, and summoning 3 King Crushes at once should almost always be enough to immediately win the game. Now, Mount Crushmore does cost 25, which might seem like a ridiculous amount of mana, but its cost does get reduced by 1 for each friendly beast summoned this game. Still though, that means you would have to summon like 15 beasts before this became castable. Things like Unleash the Hounds and other cards that summon a lot of beasts at once definitely help, but overall that pretty much makes Mount Crushmore kind of like Cthulhu, where you have to cast a bunch of minions first to get the payoff, which is a really cool design, and it actually feels a lot like a quest, since if there was a quest that was summon 15 beasts and the reward was something powerful like this, we could almost see it making it into the game. Now, this card is definitely really broken with something like Naga Sea Witch, since it makes it castable at 10 mana even if you haven't played a ton of beasts, so that might not really work out, but seeing Mount Crushmore is still definitely a cool thing, and it's definitely an out-of-the-box idea. Up next is Ascendance, a really cool legendary pre-spell created by Jen Bishop. Ascendance is essentially a build-your-own Jiraxis once you combine it with a Death Rattle minion. You get the minion's health plus 15 as your starting life total, and your hero power becomes its Death Rattle effect. It's also worth noting that you can cast this on your opponent's minion to remove it in the process, but usually you'd end up casting it on your own powerful Death Rattles. So what are some of the better Death Rattles to work with on this card? Well, Sylvanas and Sneeds aren't in standard anymore, but those are probably 2 of the better options, since one would make your hero power 2 mana take control of a random minion, and the other would let your hero power make legendary minions. Still, as awesome as these hero powers sound, Ascendance is probably a little bit too slow to actually see play, since it would cost 10 mana and would require a Death Rattle minion to stay on the board, and at that point the game is probably a little bit close to settled out. Still, it could potentially work out if you did create a very safe Death Rattle deck with N'Zoth to potentially bring them back, and use this on one of your Death Rattle minions that survives after N'Zoth, but still, that just all feels really slow, especially in the current meta where you could die on turn 6 or 7. Now moving on, we have Cataclysmic Destruction by ZZ Blue Walrus ZZ. A pretty sweet board wipe that destroys all minions and then summons Deathwing Dragonlord, which has a Death Rattle that summons a ton of dragons. Cataclysmic Destruction does start at 18 mana, making it initially uncastable, but costs 1 less for each dragon played this game, both from you and your opponent. Now, the cost on that card is pretty steep, and you'd have to cast quite a few dragons to make it affordable, but the power level of the card is also incredibly high, so it'd be awesome to see if the card could get played or do anything in this or maybe a slower standard format. But again, a card like this would probably be pretty broken with something like Naga Sea Witch, which turns out to be a problematic card for anything that you want costing more than 10 mana that has to be reduced. Now we have the Giants, but it's not too broken to play a Giant for 5 mana, since you have to wait until you have 10 mana and it's just an 8/8, but this card would be a totally different story. Next up, it's Savior, a pretty sweet legendary paladin secret by Voltoko Frederick. After 5 turns of being a secret out on the board, Savior restores you to full health. Now obviously a full heal for only 1 mana is maybe OP, but Savior is somewhat balanced by the fact that you can't really control when it goes off very well. Obviously you know what turn it's going to go off, but if you play it by the time you need the health, it's too late. And if you play it before you need the health, you may not end up needing it, and your opponent may just trade into your minions and wait for it to expire. This card might still need to be tweaked a little bit to not make it too strong or too weak, but it's pretty cool in the idea, and that its power level is balanced out by the fact that the effect is so delayed. It also stays on the field for a while as a secret, so it might make your opponent keep on guessing and try the other paladin's secrets out. Overall, it's a very awesome card with a lot of depth and would definitely inspire some skill-based gameplay. Last but not least, we have Mass Resurrection, a 10 mana priest legendary that lets you fill your board up with 7 of your strongest minions that have died that game, and is also very cool flavor-wise in referencing the WoW spell. This is a pretty cool ability, but ultimately this card is pretty similar to N'Zoth or Onyxia in that it's a really expensive card that floods the board and requires your opponent to either have a board wipe or just lose. It is nice that this works with any minion, unlike N'Zoth, but you also need some good minions to have died to make it useful, and also you can't play Doomsayer with this card or the board you resummon will just get blown back up. Still though, Mass Resurrection is definitely a cool effect, and it would be cool to see more really late game oriented cards in the next couple of standard sets. So, those are some of the sweetest fan-made legendary spells we could find, but I'm curious which one of those was your favorite, or if you have any cool fan-made cards that you'd like us to check out in the future. I'd love hearing from you guys, but that's gonna be it for me today. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.